Hello, Home Team Lighthouse. I'm Kyle Black, your team lead for VAM Empire, and this is the Week 8 update. Some weeks doesn't feel like a whole lot changes no matter how much work you put in. Visually, the game kind of stays the same update to update. This was not one of those weeks. We had a lot of great visual updates and new things dropping in, so excited to go over it. To start out, in the visuals and art department, Tyler added a nice sprite for the pilot. Looks great, and it's part of his new pilot license that we'll go over as well. He's also added a new ship that we call the Mantis frigate. Looks also great. I love that. Added a few things here. I added a particle effect for minerals for when they drop into the world. Particle effects for when you are mining. And a new background scene that's rendered in 3D onto a 2D parallax layer. That's something that at the end of the week here I started experimenting with. Still not 100% sure it's the way it'll look in the end game, but if it works well, it might be a nice easy way to get some variety in the background without having to draw and animate lots of different backgrounds. Certainly worth checking out and exploring more. In the code department, Tyler, of course, wired up his pilot's license to go along with that headshot that we showed on the previous slide, and that replaces the character menu now, and it's doing a much better job of laying out all the ship variables and the ship's health and hull and everything. We'll go over that in the demo, all the nice things being shown on that. He's got his Mantis ship in the game and something you can pilot now, and in the process of putting that together, he put some fixes around the RCS, which is something that Cornell added to the game. He got the RCS wired up and controllable. In the previous week, we had the effect was there. It was just not wired up. I saw Fahad's doing some more work on his bomb that is coming along. It's not quite ready to show off yet, but there was some work accomplished on that this week. And for myself, I of course got the mineral drop working to go along with the mining that I've wired up. I hooked up the RCS that Cornell had put in, and of course Tyler put some fixes on that. And I added positional sound to the RCS thrusters. And I wired up the metal on rock sound effect that was added a couple of weeks ago now. I think it's been in there for a while, so it's been on my to-do list. So I was glad to knock that one off the to-do list. And we got missions and a mission board started. They're not yet wired into the game, but the system and the sort of concept around them is there, and we can kind of go over that in the demo. In the sound and music department, I did a sound effect to go along with the RCS by using an air duster can. It was a fun process to take something just sitting here on my desk that I was able to turn into a sound effect in the game. And Andrew has brought us an incredible new track for the final bass that we have not even begun work on, but I am very excited to start now. And I will play that before we go into the demo. That song sounds so good. I absolutely cannot wait to start putting the end sequence of the game together just to be able to hear how that matches up with the game. But here we are in the demo for this week. You can see immediately we have the three-dimensional scene in the background, and we're using a viewport to render this 3D scene onto a parallax layer, and I have a very fast rotation running on the directional light to create this sort of sunrise sunset effect happening on the planet and the rings, just sort of to get a feel for what it may look like at different times of day quickly while we're demoing the effect. As I'm flying around here, you can see the new mining system. I got the particle effects on the minerals here. This is just purely to make sure that it works at scale. I just put a ton of them in the game, and but to truly get one the real way, you would fly up to a asteroid, and you can either target it or not. Doesn't matter either way. Once you hit it with the mining beam, and I'd like to get some sound effects on this, but once you hit it with the mining beam, it starts this. This is essentially a scene right here that is spawning, and with this particle effect in it and everything, and it just every so often is randomly rolling to see if it should drop a mineral or not. And what minerals drop will be something that I have not totally figured out how it's going to work yet, but it'll most likely be tied to the zone that you're in, or potentially the area that you're in. And there might be some variables to inform which minerals can potentially spawn off every one of the asteroids. Speaking of mining, the miner's license, which I called it the pilot's license in the slides, but that's okay. I called it the wrong thing, but it's the miner's license, and you can see the Tyler's headshot here, and he's got all the stats set up and everything, and it's much better laid out than the quick and dirty way. I was dropping the blocks of details in, and it was overflowing off of the UI prior. This is much tidier and looks great for going forward. And it works with the animation, pops in like that. And the Mantis ship, show that off. You can see it's a faster flying craft, got really fast guns. This will probably make a great first step up for a combat capable ship for the player, to step into being able to take out some more difficult enemies. And you can hear the RCS this whole time. I can't remember if I've completely gone over it, but you can hear the sound effect going off, and it works as before. It's the same braking system. It's just now visually wired up. And when you collide with rocks now, if your shields are up, it won't be as loud, but when you collide with the rocks, there is a, if I can collide with one, it's a dull sound effect, and then when the shields go down, it'll be a much louder effect. There you go. It's good and loud to really kind of sell home the fact that you don't have your shields up. And there's a shield charge up sound effect, which I think I forgot to mention in the slides as well. But when the health is healing, nothing yet, but with the shields, you can hear the shield charge up effect. And to create that sort of, I don't know if it'll come across well in the video, but essentially that sound effect is truly cycling around the camera to create that 360 spin sound. As well as the RCS thrusters are all positioned on the camera to create positional audio as well, to sound like they're coming out of the left or the right or the front of the ship. And for the last piece of the demo here, I just want to show off the mission board. It's not yet in the game, as I mentioned, but the missions will simply be buttons that will contain all the information. I was planning on putting this in a JSON file, but there really isn't a reason. As I got working on this, I realized there wasn't much reason to do that. So we'll just be able to store all the information we need per mission in these mission objects, which are really nothing more than UI buttons with a bunch of data attached to them. And then this mission board will maintain all the state of all the different missions, whether they're in a locked, unlocked, incomplete, or complete state. And I put a little debug button here to complete missions to show
sort of the unlocking process, because there are more missions here, but they won't show up because this mission is a prerequisite. So if I hit complete, you'll see this mission now shows up because its prerequisite mission was the mining run, and this will be the first combat mission. And these might not be the final missions. I was just sort of showing the function of it here. Then when that mission is completed, a second combat mission opens up. And when that mission is complete, nothing happens because there's no more missions. But that's the basic function here, and then we'll just tie mission status and completion as the player goes through the world using this UI element. We'll just probably have this present in the background, and signals can be sent into this to say, hey, you know, I've killed a pirate, or I've picked up some copper ore, or you know, maybe even send the signal anytime those actions happen, even if the mission isn't picked up, and then the state checking to see if it's worth, you know, to see if it should be checked off the list will just happen with logic built into this little mission board. Trying to keep it simple, keep it straightforward. So editor, if you wanted to make a new mission, you would just click on one of these buttons, and you know, you could duplicate the mission and then come over here and you know, set the prerequisite missions. If there's more than one prerequisite mission, you just drop in all the prerequisites you need, and when you hit assign, you just choose the mission you want to make a prerequisite off the assign button, and away you go. So and we'll likely add a few more things here to make it all work, but this will be the general path forward that I'll be following, and hopefully it's a nice, easy system to work with. That's the hope and the plan. All right, let's jump over to the Trello for one last little bit just to go over that. As always in the previous weeks, and this week we're looking good on all the tasks. We've got a lot of tasks with folks assigned to them, and we seem to be making good progress. My main concerns now are just going to be sort of threading what we have here into a game, adding some more content in the second half of the project here. We did just cross the halfway mark in this past week. I've added a new startup warm-up task for making new missions. It's not something that can readily be done completely just yet, but certainly something people can jump in and start doing and start thinking about. Maybe, you know, adding quest items that can be picked up out into the world, attaching them to areas or points of interest that we have the system in place for, to be able to hang these little minor scenes off the master zone scene. Yeah, just getting the last bits in here. I mean, there's not a whole lot of need for many more systems other than maybe the lighting, the day-night cycle. Tyler and I were discussing that this week, whether or not the lighting will be a large part of the game or not. We'll sort of see as time allows, but the critical path now is more just getting the content in, polishing things up, and taking the systems we have and running with that to make the final game here. So I'll be moving these tasks over. I won't do that on film this time, but looking good and feeling good as always. So look forward to the upcoming week, and see you in the Discord.